You know, to the president, I'm a different type of cat. I'll fight tooth and nail. I'm not going to roll over and get annihilated. I'll fight right to the death.
Trump has announced a 25% tariff on both Canada and Mexico. Now, let's cast our minds way back just, a couple of months, basically, to the height of the pandemic. How did Canada behave during that pandemic? Were they the most liberal nation on earth? Or did they evoke emergency measures? Did they freeze bank accounts of dissenters? And did I dream it? Or did they invite a literal Nazi into the Canadian Parliament to be applauded?
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service.
That was the jubilant scene Friday. Now, new details have emerged about that war service MPs applauded. Hunka served in the 1st Galician Division, a voluntary unit commanded by the Nazis.
Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. And let me know what the new discourse between Canada and America tells us about the stability of the planet. With Canadian politicians saying, we're going to get nuclear armed. That's the extraordinarily named Chrystia Freeland, who I believe has at least one Nazi grandparent, claiming that Canada needs to be forearmed in order to be forewarned against potential conflict with the United States of America. What kind of world are we living in now? And in the event of a nuclear war, whose side do you want to be on? First of all, let's have a look at Trump's announcement that there will be a 25% tariff on trade between Canada and Mexico and the United States, before looking at this new Canadian nationalism and their claim that they're going to arm themselves with a nuclear capacity. Pretty astonishing.
But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And
yeah, well, if you tariff us, we will cut off your electricity. That's what Ontario Premier Doug Ford has said in response to Trump's tariffs. Let's have a look at that.
If they want to try to annihilate Ontario, I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face. So, and I'm encouraging every other province to do the same.
Now, it's not just Trump and J.D. Vance that engage in rhetoric and outspoken posturing. You can see that other political figures that make claims of rationalism and reason and that are part of the same establishment that decry Trump as a kind of bizarre and berserk outlier, they posture too. Do you remember when we were talking about the Nord Stream pipeline, Joe Biden going, yeah, listen, they won't cross us.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
That, in a sense, I would say this: the more mean, mealy-mouthed and mediocre political figures also engage in grandstanding, but it's just less impressive when they do it. He continues, Doug Ford, to claim that not only will they cut off America's energy, but that also they're not ruling out fighting to the death, before sort of backtracking somewhat ridiculously.
Quebec, Manitoba, BC, we all have to act in unison. Out east, they rely on our energy. They need to feel the pain. They want to come at us hard, we're going to come back twice as hard.
In a way, global politics now resembles wrestling. Weird discourse, extraordinary caricatures, public spats. How long before Zelensky gets hit over the head with a folding chair? How long before these bizarre Vince McMahon-style narratives become impossible to track? I don't know how you feel about occupying this untenable and bewildering blizzard of unmanageable reality. Like, I feel that in order to even chart a way through it, you have to have some sense of a deeper, ulterior meaning. You have to have some sort of sense of a framing beyond time, because this kind of ongoing bewilderment is It's not what you were made for. It's not what you were created for. Here, Doug Ford, who just says he's going to cut off American energy supply with a smile on his face, engaging in exactly the kind of discourse that's condemned in liberal media. Like, that's what they say. You can't have someone like Trump grandstanding like that. And then you see more mediocre and less pronounced political figures try to do the same thing, just less well. So even the position from which they condemn Trump is unstable, because they would do all of it and any of it themselves. They're just less good at it.
You know, to the president, I'm a different type of cat. I'll fight tooth and nail. I'm not going to roll over and get annihilated. I'll fight right to the death. Not that there's going to be any deaths.
Oh, no, when I say fight to the death, I don't mean death. I mean a kind of abstract kind of death. A kind of, as it were, a kind of ennui, a despair. I'll fight till people are disappointed.
But, you know, the economy, I will go on. He has no idea. He has absolutely no idea.
It seems slightly absurd to you, a sort of a local Ontario politician claiming that they will fight to the death with the President of the United States. Are you struggling now to believe in their reality? Here, Chrystia Freeland makes claims for moral superiority, the same claims that she and Trudeau made during the pandemic, that the measures and acts that they were undertaken were underwritten by the preservation of life, the protection of Canadians, that the truckers were Nazis, that we had to freeze those bank accounts. It just doesn't hold together anymore. Here, Chrystia Freeland says that Canada are going to develop a nuclear deterrent. Now, Chrystia Freeland is exactly the kind of WEF-trained globalist politician that I, and I reckon you too, believe are a greater threat than populist nationalist politicians, and are the reason that nationalist politicians are enjoying success, because they are connected to their population. They're connected to the kind of feeling and sentiment of the times. People wanting to feel that they live in a country, that there are traditions and values that make sense amidst the bewilderment of globalism that seems to exist only to facilitate centralizing global interests. Here, Chrystia Freeland, again, a person coming from an apparent position of moral superiority, saying that Canada are going to develop a nuclear deterrent. It's really odd.
The U.S. is turning predator. And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies. I've been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened.
She's saying this because she's running to be Prime Minister to replace Justin Trudeau, who's been castrated for some time now. In fact, in some ways, it's a kind of living metaphor for castration. And the fact that these kind of globalist leaders have no real power. They have only the power their role affords them. And that is to be ciphers for a globalist agenda. Chrystia Freeland, again, posturing, we're going to make Canada a nuclear power. We're going to team up with Denmark. Now, no disrespect to Denmark, but the Viking days are over, baby.
And our European NATO allies, I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons. And I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat.
Okay, so new alliances will be forged in order to oppose the United States of America, but the basis for that opposition is dubious, because some of us have got memories and can recall that Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau during the pandemic froze the bank accounts and rights of ordinary Canadians. Let me know if you remember those trucker protests and how those truckers were treated, condemned and damned.
People who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
Qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes.
It's extraordinary to hear that citizens of a country can be called Nazis seemingly indiscriminately, while we are ourselves invited to spend our own tax dollars and pounds and whatever is the relevant currency supporting the Ukraine's efforts against Russia, which includes the not insignificant Azov battalion that are literal Nazis, and Chrystia Freeland's grandfather, who was an actual Nazi, and that dude that turned up in the Canadian Parliament that was an actual Nazi. Now, we don't need to get overwhelmed by Nazism, but we do need to acknowledge the extraordinary hypocrisy at the heart of their movement and their ongoing inability and unwillingness to take that simple mea culpa and say, we made mistakes during the pandemic, we might be making mistakes right now. It's no wonder we've lost the support of the electorate. It's no wonder that no one believes in what we're selling or wants to purchase what's on offer from us anymore, because we've behaved appallingly in the last few years. If we claimed to be wearing the mantle of the great leaders of the 60s, the civil rights martyrs like Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X, like the female suffrage movement, it's a claim that seems increasingly ridiculous when you know that the beneficiaries of our political movement are always global bureaucracies that are unelected and profiteering global corporations. And that's why the Ukraine-Russia conflict has become so significant, as the lens that enables us to continue to see, as the pandemic did, that there is a force behind apparent humanitarianism, behind apparent wokeism, that is pretty dark, actually. Chrystia Freeland, her name is sarcastic. Her attempt to become leader of Canada probably will succeed, actually. But the idea that liberalism and these kind of globalist politicians have high ground, a moral high ground or moral authority over nationalist leaders, notably Trump, is outrageous and ridiculous. And we're seeing that unfold now in real time. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Remember, we're here every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we provide additional content on Rumble Premium. Subscribe to that now in order to get additional content from us, other great Rumble creators, the ones that aren't being asked to form government now, extraordinarily, as well as shows like Break Bread.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.